Okay, let's just jump right into it. There's this massive deal that just dropped in the AI coding world, and it really shows things are changing in a big way.
A huge deal.
We're going deep on the acquisition of Graphite. That's the AI code review startup by the coding assistant giant Cursor. And really, our mission here is to figure out why one of tech's fastest growing companies just spent a fortune to win what they're calling the race to zero debugging.
And it really is a fortune. Look, this is a classic strategic move. But to get the scale, you have to look at the money. I mean, Cursor's last valuation was, what, a whopping $29 billion?
Yeah, 29 billion, yeah, back in November.
Right. In Graphite, their last public valuation was $290 million. But the reporting says the final price was way over that, paying
Wow.
that kind of premium. It just shows that getting rid of buggy AI code is like the #1 priority for everyone in this space right now.
Exactly. So the core problem is that AI-generated code, while it's super fast, is often, just full of simple mistakes.
Totally. Which means engineers are spending all their time just cleaning it up.
And it just kills the speed advantage. So by putting Cursor's code writing together with Graphite's AI review, they're trying to shorten that whole life cycle. From idea to deployment. It's about end-to-end automation.
And this isn't just your basic spell check for code. What's so fascinating is how Graphite does this. Their tech uses a special reinforcement learning model that was trained specifically on failed Git patches.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
It means it doesn't just look at the code structure. It actually anticipates the logical mistakes and, the common traps that large language models fall into when they're writing software.
That makes the whole strategy so much clearer. But beyond the pure debugging part, Graphite also had some really sticky features, right? Their core value prop was something called a stacked pull request. I get the strategy, but let me just play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't this still totally dependent on how good the initial AI-generated code is?
It is, yes, but the stacked pull request tackles a different problem. It attacks the developer pipeline itself. For you listening, a stacked PR basically lets a developer work on a bunch of dependent changes all at once.
Without waiting for approvals on each piece.
Exactly. You don't have to wait. It just kills that approval bottleneck you see in the old way of doing things. It's a massive speed boost right at that critical deployment stage.
And Cursor's been building towards this, right? This isn't their first big purchase. They're on a bit of an acquisition spree.
They absolutely are. Last month, they bought Growth by Design, which is all about tech recruiting. And then back in July, they snapped up the talent from Koala, an AI-powered CRM startup.
And Koala was valued at what, like 129 million?
129 million post-money, yeah. And for you listening, post-money just means that's the company's value after they took their last round of investor cash. It's just a way to measure growth.
So even after this huge Graphite deal, Cursor still has major competition. I mean, you see players like CodeRabbit.
Oh yeah, CodeRabbit is a big one, valued at 550 million back in September. And there's also Greptile, a smaller but very well-funded player that just announced a 25 million Series A.
So why is CodeRabbit still such a threat at that valuation? Are they focusing on enterprise or a specific coding language, maybe?
That's the nuance, yeah. They've been very aggressive on big enterprise deals. But what's really fascinating about the Cursor and Graphite deal is the network, the human connection.
You mean how they all knew each other?
Exactly. Cursor's CEO, Michael Truhl, he met all three of Graphite's co-founders, Meryl Ludsky, Greg Foster, and Thomas Reimers, when they were all Neo scholars.
So it wasn't just a blind merger. It sounds more like an arranged marriage pushed by their big investors.
Precisely. That's the perfect way to put it. They all share roots in Neo, Ali Partovi's firm, which was an early backer of Graphite. And on top of that, they share the same massive VCs. We're talking Excel and Andreessen Horowitz, Sixtint.
So when the same big money is invested in both the tool maker and the tool fixer, these kinds of acquisitions just get a lot easier to pull off.
It just makes sense for them to consolidate their bets.
Okay, so the bottom line for you is pretty clear. This deal is just screaming that the entire industry is sprinting towards a fully automated software pipeline.
Full throttle. Speed and efficiency are everything now.
And the whole ecosystem just has to adapt or get left behind.
Which brings us to the biggest question of all, the real structural question. If AI can write the code, and then another AI can instantly check and debug that code, which is the whole point of this merger,
Yeah.
what's the next bottleneck for the human engineer?
What's left for them to do?
Right. What happens when instant verification completely changes the job of coding itself? That's the real frontier you should be watching.
Yeah.